Welcome back, fellow readers. This is Suave, and today we're going to be taking a look at a light novel series known as The Executioner and Her Way of Life. This is written by Mato Sato, illustrated by Nilitsu, translated by McKeon, and published by Yen. Now we have a whole lot of things to talk about with this book, but first, we're going to take a look at what this book actually looks like. Alright, y'all, so as always, we're going to take a quick close-up at our book. Here we have the front cover featuring Mato. This is her classic little outfit here going on. And we're going to take a quick look at the spine, because as we all know, the spine is what this book is going to look like most of the time on your shelf. And we're going to take a quick look at the back of the book. So the back of the book shows the synopsis. We have a little heavenly sky here with a light beaming down, kind of fitting for this story when you reach the end. And we have a little ISB and number here. We have the Yen information, the good old stuff on the bottom. And we're going to take a quick look at the inside of these pages. So here we have the cover page featuring Mato in a different pose. And we're going to take a quick flip inside. So we have the table of contents showing that we have a prologue, an epilogue, and 4 different chapters. And this book is just about 300 pages long. So, it's a fairly thick light novel. It's a fairly big book to read through, but it is a fun one nonetheless. And spoiler alert for those people who do not like to look at the inserts, we are going to be taking a look at the inserts right now. So go ahead and fast forward a little bit if you do not want to be looking at these inserts. So we're going to take a quick look right now. And these are actually just one big fold out insert. And it is double-sided. So we're going to take a quick look at this one over here. Let me see if I can get a better angle for you all. So here we have Mato, and here we have her scripture. She has a trusty little dagger, the black bow on her head. This is all classic Mato right here. It's all good stuff. And on the other side, we have the fold out here, where we have the 4 lovely characters featured in this story. And we're going to talk about each one of them and within the review. So we have Ashina, Akari, Mato, and Momo. So let's head on back to the review. So what is this story all about? To put it simply, this is an adventure series that is filled with fantasy, magic, all that good stuff. And it is an adventure of how a single person can really change your entire life and how you see everything. And this story involves Mato. She is the person who is featured on the front cover of this lovely book. And Mato goes through a huge transformation throughout this whole book. So to start things off, this story is not an isekai, but it has isekai elements. Now, what do I mean by that? So in this story, Mato is our main character. She is someone who is born in this world, and she's lived through this world her whole life. And in this world, there are people known as otherworlders. And these otherworlders are people who have been transferred into this world by some ritualistic means, and these people usually come from Japan. So that's what I mean by this story having isekai elements. Our main character wasn't transferred to another world, but other people who are in this world have been transferred to this place. Okay, so this is one of the cool things about this story, because these otherworlders do have the usual tropes that a main character would normally have during an isekai story. They would have some sort of unique ability that makes them stand out, or they're somewhat overpowered, and their potential grows over time, and they usually change the world in a drastic way. And that's true about these people, but it's usually in a very bad way. The natural inhabitants of this planet or this world, they know these otherworlders, and they've seen the events that these people make, and they are usually labeled as calamities. These otherworlders usually bring upon destruction in this world, or change this world in a way that nobody asked for. Because you never know who encounters these otherworlders or what their past experiences were. In most cases, those otherworlders do remember their previous life, and so they do have that previous knowledge, and maybe they want to make life better for themselves, or they just want to be an asshole and make life bad for everybody else. And so no one can really predict what these people's powers are going to be, how they're going to react, who they're being influenced by. And so there's a lot of bad things that happen when otherworlders usually come to this world. And this is where Mato comes in. So as you can probably predict, Mato is an executioner, and this is her way of life. So Mato belongs to some sort of cathedral faction or some sort of order, and they're basically church assassins is what they are. Church assassins who can conjure up spells, and they're pretty badass at what they do. And Mato has the task of assassinating certain otherworlders who have appeared in this world. Now, I'm not going to spoil exactly how Mato goes about this, but just know that there are some cool twists when you meet her in the first chapter. And then of course comes the problem that Mato faces. There is a certain otherworlder that Mato has to assassinate, and this person has an ability that makes it so that they cannot be killed by any normal means. And so Mato is now having to deal with this sort of situation in a much different approach. I mean, she still wants to be able to carry out her mission to kill this person, but she cannot do it, and she needs help, and she needs to figure out how she needs to be able to succeed this mission. And that is what this story is all about. It is about Mato and this otherworlder and their adventure into being able to basically try to kill this other person. Now, the other person doesn't know that the goal is to have her be killed, but she plays along. Mato tries to act as her friend, and they try to get along with each other. And over time, they do sort of build this sort of bond and relationship, and you get to see how they work together, how they overcome certain challenges, and it's just a really nice adventure. And of course, as you get deeper and deeper into this story, you start to unfold all these different mysteries, and you start to see that things aren't really what they seem to be, and Mato starts to really question what it is that's going on in the background. Now we have 4 lovely ladies featured as the main characters of the story. We have Mato, you've already seen the front cover. We have Momo, she is the sidekick for Mato. Akari, who is the otherworlder. And we have Ashura, who is a warrior princess. Now the character stories do meld really well together. I think the relationships kind of lack a little bit with just some of them. And it's just the first volume. I'm sure it's going to develop more later on. But Ashura, we don't get to see her till much later in the story. And she's really only strictly interacting with just one of the characters. She doesn't really have a whole lot of face time with the other two. Akari, she really only sees Mato throughout this whole story. Momo, she kind of just sees everybody, so she has a little spotlight with everybody. And of course Mato as well, she kind of sees everybody except for Ashura for the most part. But don't get me wrong, they don't all have to interact with each other all the time in order to make very interesting characterization. They each have their own spotlights, and they each interact with each other in their own unique way, in a very memorable way as well. And you don't get too much downtime with just backstory or history. You kind of learn those things on the go during the action, so it's actually a pretty nice pace. You have the very beginning parts where you're with Mato, and the whole introductory scene with the cathedral that she's part of, and then in the middle you have the train scene. And then at the end, I think it's the target city that they're reaching at the end of the story. And that brings us to my final verdict. And my final verdict for this story is that it is a solid read. This is an action-driven adventure, and there's a whole lot of action in this story with all the fighting. You have all these different weapons, the swords, guns, spell books. You got all the works, and in between all that, you have 4 lovely ladies who are just kicking ass and looking good while they do it. And it's just a very fun read altogether. So if you want an action adventure with 4 lovely ladies who are just trying to come together and kick some ass, then this is the book that you need to pick up. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think about The Executioner and Her Way of Life. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, because we're going to be bringing more light novel reviews in the near future. With that being said, I will see you all next time. Bye everyone.